listening to Everyday Engineering, the City of Madison's engineering podcast where we talk about infrastructure. Complex topics explained simply, from the water that flows down your drain to the rain and snow that drains into the lakes. By way the curbs and streets we design. City engineering touches your life in so many ways. Explained right now in Everyday Engineering.
Crush Farley, Squash Bob, Trash Pants, The Crusher, Sir Crush-A-Lot, Ron Squeezely. I got through that list without laughing. Who would have thought there'd been so many fun names to officially name the city's new electric trash and recycling compactors? We held a contest, and no, those weren't the winning names. My name is Hannah Mohelnitzky, City of Madison Engineering Division Public Information Officer. Today, I'm joined by my fellow Public Works Department Public Information Officer and Recycling Coordinator from the Streets Division, Bryan Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us today, Bryan. What a fun contest.
I know. It was a blast, actually. I was really happy that we were able to do it this year.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I thought anybody who's listening to this might have thought somebody messed with my script and threw some funny words in there. But those names, those are so much fun. That's from the public, right?
Yeah, we solicited responses from the public. We got around 500 individual requests from them. And from that list, we culled it down to the best 20. Well, actually, I was initially going to have fewer than like 20 finalists, but there were enough like interesting ones where we had to expand it some just to make room for all of the funny ones that we got.
Oh my gosh, so much. And we'll get into that in just a bit. But before we get going, like you and I both handle communications for our divisions. But this was something new and fun, really unlike anything we've done at the city. Before we get into the contest specifically, can you kind of explain like what exactly a trash compactor is for anyone who may not know listening, and then what a recycling compactor is and how the community may experience them or cross with them?
Gotcha. So what these two devices are, so they're at our Streets Division drop-off site over at Sycamore Avenue, so 4602 Sycamore. And really what they did, they replaced those rear-loading garbage trucks. So you see those big brown garbage trucks that drive through the neighborhoods. It's the ones that collect leaves or large items and that. Mm-hmm. For our drop-off sites, we usually have to have two of those there to get the trash and recycling that people bring to us, because that's the only thing we have to really hold it and squish it to make it small enough to save the space in the truck, and then go drive that over to the recycling goes to pelletary waste systems for sorting, and then the trash goes to our transfer station.
You gotta squeeze it.
You gotta squeeze it, yeah. Hence the squeezing names, yeah.
Ron Squeezely.
The Ron Squeezely. And it's compacting it so more stuff fits in there, really.
Sure.
And what we were trying to do here is that to run the compactor of those trucks, you got to have the engine running the whole time. So you're burning about 8 gallons of diesel fuel every hour those things are running, and they're running most of the time when our drop-off site's open. So how do we cut back on that diesel fuel by instead trading out those trucks for these electric compactors, which do the same job? They hold trash, they hold recycling, they squish it to get more stuff in there, and then we can use a different kind of truck to hook it and lift it and take it to the facility where it gets dumped or sorted for the recycling. And and plus it also freed up 2 trucks for us to then use for other things, because we don't always have to have these 2 things sitting on the drop-off sites. We can then get them out on the field more as well, which is also like an operational benefit, plus the climate savings and the dollar savings for the fuel savings. Even though I butchered that.
No, you're fine. No, so what I'm hearing is they're basically the same kind of machines, but one's focused on trash compacting and one's recycling.
Yeah, and we were careful also the way the branding of them, not the branding, but the color of them, like the trash compactor at Sycamore is the tan color, kind of like your trash carts are at your house.
Okay.
And the green one is the recycling one at Sycamore as well, just because it's an operational savings for us, and the fuel savings and the climate benefit that can be had from not just burning so much diesel fuel for a thing just sitting there all day long like it was.
I guess I didn't even think of that. I mean, when it's sitting there, it's on.
Yeah, that's the only way to really run that compactor part is if the engine's on.
Right.
So, and then because our drop-off sites are really popular locations, especially around this time of year, holiday time, there's so much excess cardboard that comes in. Just having a truck there sitting there just burning fuel all day long while we're just trying to compact all that cardboard that comes in, we can do it with electricity instead and save that much more fuel.
That's incredible. That's huge. And these 2 pieces of equipment are electric. We've never had that in that type of vehicle, correct?
Yeah, like this is probably the first foray in the sort of like electrification of end uses, I believe, of what it's called, where we're trying to electrify more and more of our fleet like that. So this is a piece of that. I mean, next year we're probably looking at an electric trash truck at some point in time as well. So like that, we're moving that way to get further and further from diesel fuels and getting more in this electric space.
Wow, that's really neat. That's a really cool thing.
We might have to name that electric garbage truck too. We'll see what happens next year.
You know what? When we have names like this,
Right?
Squash Bob Trash Pants and the Crusher, oh my gosh, they're so much fun. You know, where did that come from, Bryan?
Well,
Where did that idea come to name them something fun? You could name them anything. Trash 1, Recycling 1, A, B, blah, blah. But you guys found something really fun, and we haven't revealed the names yet.
right. So the names, the whole naming thing came because there was so much attention around, was it in the Minnesota Department of Transportation named a handful of their snow plowing equipment. And I think the first one really that kind of kicked off the naming of equipment thing was years ago with that Bodie McBoatface thing or whatever that happened.
There was a map circulating around of people naming their plows, yes.
Yeah, and so from that, it was just something that we never really were interested in doing that. Like, how do we partake in this, but in a way, but we don't really have a way to display the names, or we couldn't think of a good way to display any kind of plowing equipment or anything like that at the time. And so, like, well, we know this with these electric compactors, we know it's a good story. It's not something that people think of. Well, how do you make a garbage compactor interesting,
Right.
or a recycling compactor
It's
interesting?
necessary.
It's necessary, and it does a lot of good work. Like even that diesel fuel savings, it's important. But how do you highlight that in a way that people might think is like interesting and a little bit joyful?
Yeah.
We don't have to be so like the climate thing is obviously serious, but we can have some fun while we're solving these problems at the same time too. So let's put a silly name on it. Let's go for it. You know, let's see what we can do. And like the public responded pretty well with some of their suggestions. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you know, the names and some of the options, I'm just going to read a few of them and it'll bring you back. Seeing for the trash compactor, there was Oscar, Compressor X, Smashly Simpson.
That was a favorite of mine.
Oh, Trashy McTrashface. Then for recycling, there was George Squashington, Flatten Oswald, Crushin' Bob LaFlatten, Compressica Simpson.
Also a favorite of mine.
That must have been the same person. Really on that roll. And then, I mean, just overall, people really got creative.
Yeah, and like some unexpected ones. I think there was somebody that suggested two names that were about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They were plays off that, like the Simpson family one. Like I would never have guessed Compressica Simpson. Like I never would have landed on that on my own. That's why I was like, that's amazing. It was so good. It's such a good suggestion, and there were, like I said, about 500 individual suggestions that we got. Some better than others, you know, and I think we picked a pretty good.
500?
Yeah, it took a while to read them all.
Because it was an election.
Yeah.
So talk me through that process part.
Because we knew we'd get so many of them. And then, so what we wound up doing, we ran this election. We had about 2,000, a little more than 2,000 votes, I think 2,100 and some change.
Wow.
For people that voted. And because we knew we were going to have so many good candidates, we did a ranked choice-ish style election. It wasn't like a by-the-book ranked choice election.
Right.
But we had people choose their top 5 names, and it was a point system where your top choice was awarded 5 points, your second choice was 4 points, and so on, like that.
Sure.
Just to kind of give people an opportunity to choose more than one name as well, and also to make certain we pick something that the most of the people liked, you know, because there was so many interesting ones. I wanted to give people the option. We had a lot of good candidates.
And we have to, you know, pick something appropriate, and you know that it's fun. People get really creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's okay. We like that, and then we can kind of narrow it down. So, and hopefully they'll be able to maybe edit my poor excuse.
No,
for the
leave it.
sound
We should
effect.
have that be there. That should be they should then edit that, and then every time you need to do a reveal, it's just your voice going.
Oh gosh, help us. No, but what were the winning names?
Yeah, for trash, we have Rosie the Rubbisher. Which one for that?
Rosie the Rubbisher.
That was fantastic.
Love
and then the for the recycling one was one of my other favorites. That one was a Stone Cold Squeeze Often. Which again, like I never would have come up with that one. It's so good. It's such a good one.
That's so much fun. And then the next part. So you have these new electric tools, basically, these 2 electric vehicles that are huge, and you got to name them. So you went through the election, you named them, you heard from our community, and you narrowed it down, you picked 2 names, and now there's art.
Yeah.
There's art. So how will people know they come across Rosie the Rubbisher and Stone Cold Squeeze Often?
Well, you can't miss it. If you're going to the Sycamore drop-off site, we've had a relationship with this artist collective called like the Underbelly Creative, where they actually helped some of these food scrap awareness composting or food scrap awareness signage that we have. They helped design this composting guide that we have. You can probably pick one up from local library branches. And also at the Streets Division offices, we have these little zines about how to compost right. So we've worked with them for a few things like that. And then when this naming opportunity came around, it's like, well, it's one thing to have the names, but let's display these things. Let's really show off this fun thing. So we were able to work with them to design this 2 foot by 4 foot long giant bumper sticker, more or less. A little bit fancier than a bumper sticker. It's going to stand up to the weather. It shouldn't fade for several years, and slap it on the side of there to help promote these names that we had and really kind of show off what we did. And they really came up with something I really like how they look. They turned out great.
Can you describe what they look like, just so that if someone's listening to this and they haven't seen it?
Yeah, so the Rosie the Rubbisher, the background is resembling to Madison's flag. So it's got 2 blue fields and the white diagonal stripe. And then Rosie herself has a cheese head, because we're Wisconsin, naturally. And she's also built kind of like the way I described it to the artist group. I wanted her to look like a roller derby person, but like someone you just wouldn't want to mess with. Just like ripped enough where if she hit you, you'd feel it, And because she's crushing stuff,
Yes, she's crushing it.
And so it says Rosie the Rubbisher there across the white field, and then like let's crush it is a little extra phrase that's on there.
Love that.
And for Stone Cold Squeeze Off, then we have a play off the wrestler, his iconography where he has the skull and the crossbones there, but a lot of the teeth in the skull are recyclables. If you look close, it's like bent cans and broken bottles and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And then the other designs around it are just other sort of flattened, squished recycling stuff. And then on the top part of the skull, like because the big Stone Cold Steve Austin thing was that Austin 316, then an unrepeatable phrase for this podcast. but on the top of the head, we have recycling 1018 or recycle 1018 because that's the City of Madison ordinance that requires recycling. Yeah, little
there
Easter
you
egg
go.
there.
Yeah.
And that's also, and it's green. It matches the colors with the recycling compactor that we have. Again, they're pretty fun.
That is, I mean, you don't get that in public works that often, that creative, right? We're creative with innovative designs or updates to our processes and things like that are necessary to keep up with our community and infrastructure. But not very often or ever have we ever been able to do something so cool like this, Bryan. So that's a feather in your cap.
Thank you. And it was an opportunity too, because really at Madison's Heart, we're still a city that our city bird is the plastic pink flamingo, right? Like we need to have more opportunities to inject that side of us into the things that we do even here as a city. And I think this was like a good opportunity to show off this sort of sillier side that we have while also having a serious purpose at the same time.
Well, it's actually PR genius because it's going to get more people stopping and say, what was that? What was that? I just saw Rosie the Rubbisher? What?
Like, when did they do this? This is so neat.
But that's so cool, and it'll raise awareness. And that's number one for a public information officer is you want to raise awareness about your division and your processes. So awesome. And we're going to join in on this. So we're meaning engineering. So you've graciously said, hey, you know what? This is really fun. So we're looking next to winter equipment, and you've invited engineering in on the fun. And I think we will be naming a bike path snow removal, equipment.
Yeah.
We don't know what or when yet, but what, and then you guys are thinking about what?
Yeah, we have some newer equipment that we got a really large quad axle truck that we can use to brine whenever the weather allows us to. We have this brine making machine that we've been using for years. Like, well, maybe that would some sort of laboratory type name would be appropriate. We can get a little plaque. It can be kind of fun.
Yeah.
And some other of our just snow plowing fleet. That's one of the things I think that goes into the snow services too, is that we forget that there's a lot of equipment and a lot of stuff that goes into this, from bike paths, the bus stops, to the roads you drive on, to the different types of roads, from like cul-de-sacs to just regular main thoroughfares. There's a lot of different places where snow needs to get pushed off pavement throughout the city.
Yep.
And so I think helping show like the complexity and how big this operation is, and also let's throw some silly names out there, but like not Plowy McPlowface. I really don't want that.
Please don't
no,
send that.
The Blanky McBlankface thing is done. I think I think we've had enough of that.
You can't put rules on this.
I know,
Bryan.
I know. If enough people suggest it, whenever we are able to put this up for people to suggest a name, then it'll be one of the finalists. Don't get me wrong, but
You're fine.
it will. But we can do better. We can challenge ourselves, Madison. We can be something clever. I got a whole other.
Yes.
I've been trying to think of other plowing names. Like we can call one Salt the Roads Conway after our mayor. We can, there's
That's awesome.
I've been trying to think of
not Salt the
Road Conway.
Yes.
That would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
But it doesn't her name. But
Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's great.
Trying to think of Charlie Barron. There's about to be something with Bear that's in there. I don't know what that is yet. Something Charlie Bear Pavementins. I don't know. But there's. It'll be interesting. And also whatever the public can come up with too, because again, they came up with tons of stuff that I just had not even considered.
Well, that is amazing. That is it's got the wheels turning. You're getting us all ready for the next contest, Bryan, and I like it. Yeah, because it's nice. You want to pick a name that, hey, there's Rosie.
Yeah.
What was it?
There's Stone Cold.
There's Stone Cold. Did you see Stone Cold
drove
today?
past my house, I passed the thing on the belt line today. Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we're wrapping up here. Other resources. The Streets Division has really great resources for anybody dealing with weather. So can you just kind of remind us, we always want to leave our listeners with resources and things that they can use in their everyday life. So what can they do to keep people connected going into winter?
Yeah, there's a ton. So for the winter stuff, it's cityofmadison.com/winter has everything you could possibly need to know about winter operations.
All the rules.
All the rules about when to shovel your sidewalk, how Streets is responding to a winter weather event. You can get alerts. You can get text alerts where to park your car. Mm-hmm. It's all there. Where to get free sand. It's so much stuff at the winter website. But with compactors too, our drop-off sites, this time of year, because we lose our seasonal staff at the Streets Division, so our hours are restricted now for when people can come to the sites.
Sure.
So making certain you know where to get what you can bring and the hours that we're open. You want to go to the website, check before you load your car, because way too often we see people with like truckfuls of stuff to drive up to like a lock gate. Like you don't want to. That's
the
terrible.
worst.
It's terrible. So it's cityofmadison.com/drop-off sites. And that's SITES. That takes you right to the drop-off site information. You can see the hours. You can see what they accept. All that stuff's there. And more Streets Division stuff just at our Streets website as well.
Oh, Bryan, I feel like you need an alter ego name like, Stone Cold. What did I miss? I messed it up, didn't I? What is it?
There's the Stone Cold Squeeze Often.
There it is.
There
it is.
I will say my predecessor, whenever he did a television commercial where he dressed up in a superhero costume, George Dreckman did, and he called himself the Recyclor.
Oh.
And he had the tights on and the whole shebang. We actually have that commercial on the city's YouTube channel, in the Streets of Recycling thing. So you can see Recyclor in all his glory, and a few other. We've been posting old Dreckman photos or old Dreckman commercials on the Streets Division YouTube channel. So.
That's kind of cool. No tights.
No.
I'm sure he did great in tights, but let's maybe.
No, I decidedly not for me. No, absolutely more of a loose fit. 90s Junko skater kind of superhero vibe for me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Bryan, our time is up. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for listening. We're going to have you back because you're fun. If you have a question or a comment about this podcast episode, again, write into us at engineering@cityofmadison.com. Also, check out our engineering division website and the Streets Division website full of resources that Bryan just mentioned about this topic and really any other topic you want to learn more about. Great resources for you because we're always here for you every day in engineering.